You want to put yourself in opportunity's way. And when you're restricting yourself to simply doing what somebody else asks you to do in their business, you're just not in opportunity's way. There's just like no way opportunity can find you. But if you're out there, doing your own thing, then you and opportunity are looking for each other and you'll eventually meet up.
This is Dreamchasers, episode 56 with Bernard Reisz. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Adam Carswell, and welcome to Dreamchasers, Interviews with the Future. On Dreamchasers, we interview individuals with supernatural amounts of potential based on early success in their careers. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get straight to the interview. Hey guys, this is Adam Carswell, and today I'm joined by Bernard Reisz. Bernard is the principal of ReSure Financial. He's originally from Brooklyn, New York City, went to Albany for college, and now lives back in his hometown, Brooklyn, New York. Bernard, thanks for being on the show. And do you have any opening remarks for our listeners?
Adam, firstly, thanks for having me on the show. What I'd say at this point is hopefully we'll provide great value, substantive info, and stay with us for this episode.
Absolutely. I'm really excited for this one. But first, I got to let everyone know how I got to know Bernard. It was through, like many dream chasers now, it was through LinkedIn. Bernard and I were a part of a challenge, I guess you could call it, a commercial real estate oriented challenge where we had to post content for 10 days straight on LinkedIn. And it was amazing what that did for us and the group of people we got to know. Even just through text, no one's really on the phone with anyone. This is the first time we've had a conversation, but both, I could say, I feel this way. Bernard, you can open up a little bit as well, but we feel like we've gotten to know each other a little bit just through the power of LinkedIn and messaging. So what are your thoughts on that?
I got to say, it's really awesome. The power of LinkedIn, the power of that platform and similar platforms. Frankly, I've never had that kind of experience that we had on LinkedIn. And I'm on a couple other platforms. I'm somewhat active on Bigger Pockets, but that level of personal interaction is just amazing. And you really feel like you know these people and you've never spoken to them. And I enjoy that. And another thing is it kind of got me to be more active on LinkedIn. Generally, I don't have the time to do it. And so since that challenge came to an end, I've slacked off, but I really sensed like something is missing. It was really great to do that. And not just from a business perspective, in general, interpersonal, when you drop off, they feel like a slight void. So I'm looking forward to getting back on there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can definitely relate in certain respect to what you said. There's certain people that we were communicating with daily that we're not hearing from daily anymore. And, it was only 10 days, but it definitely feels like longer than that.
And I did, as an experiment, which, nobody else tried this because I've done it. I've, gone on LinkedIn, been really active. I'm seeing the boost, because you can see your statistics in LinkedIn and you can see your profile views and you're up by 60, 80%, and then see what happens when you drop off the platform for a couple of days and then you drop down again 80%. So you've got to keep at it and be consistent. I guess just like most things in life, it's about consistency and keeping at it till you're successful.
Right. And a mutual friend of ours, someone that I think deserves some kudos here real quick is Jana Weiss. He was the one who put together the challenge. And Jana was also a dream chaser a few episodes back. And I think really a catalyst for how I even got into that group. So Jana, we love you.
Yeah, Jana is awesome. A real people connector. I actually just saw Jana personally. Yeah. It's great. He's not in this neck of the woods too often. It was great to see him. And I got to say, Adam, make it a point to meet him in person because meeting in person is probably still trumps LinkedIn. So it was great to meet him. Right. And he's been an instrumental people connector for myself and so many others. And Jana, kudos, keep it up.
Yeah, he invited me to go with him to OJBA, and I really wanted to make it happen, but it wasn't working into the schedule based on timing. But maybe next year I'll get to go do a Family Feud with him.
Yeah, I did it. I was on the show.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I think we're going to have to talk about that after the show as much as I want to know about just because we got some limited time here. Bernard, I got to ask you now, ReSure Financial, how long have you guys been in business?
We're in business for 5 years.
All right. And that's perfect. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before the show, but our threshold normally is we like people, ideas, businesses, something new, something that's shown a lot of promise within the first 5 years of its inception. So you're making it in good timing.
Yeah, it's, you know what, we dive into this a bit, give you a little more of the evolution, and where it came from, and how it got to be where it's at.
Yeah, real quick, I should say, because it sounds like you're leading into my next question for you. So we are now going to step into the next level chamber. Bernard, when did you realize that this was something you wanted to take to the next level?
I'd say the process is a bit of, I'd say, like your non-traditional process. So I'm a CPA. I began my career in management consulting. In that capacity, what I consistently realized is that when you're in this job role, you're kind of pigeonholed. When I say that, I don't mean financially. Financially, I kind of broke all the barriers, shattered all the ceilings. But in terms of personal expression, being all that you can be, delivering the best that you can deliver, innovating, you get stymied because it's not really what they're looking for you to deliver. So I reached a certain point in the career. And at that point, I was considering staying with the firm that I was at or moving on to, I was going to go to PwC. I had accepted an offer from PwC. And then I decided, this is just not where I think I'm going to feel fulfilled. I'm going to feel fulfilled by being innovative and delivering the kind of value that I can deliver. And the only way you can do that is by being your own boss.
Yeah, that's very true. I have to say from personal experience, that's something that I think you realize especially once you step into that role of being your own boss. So tell us about that. I mean, what was that experience like at first when you were your own boss?
So my experience, in a sense, it did begin while I was still in management consulting. So there was, management consulting, you can end up many, many different types of engagements. And there is room to innovate. And ironically, I'm the kind of person that questions everything. Don't take anything for granted. Take a deep dive, analyze. And when I joined the firm, and I asked questions, and I say there was a lot of pushback against, why are you asking questions? Just do it. Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? So it did take a bit of time for them to, adopt all the things I was trying to get them to do. A year later, everything that I had been questioning or suggesting was implemented. And from that point on, essentially anything that was not part of what they'd been doing for the last few decades, anything they had not consistently done, anything that was a little out of the box came to me. So I did had a lot of latitude to an extent, but not the greatest, not the extent that I wanted. A lot of things that came my way were the kind of things that you generally would not associate with CPAs. So when it came to analyzing hundreds of pages of documents and contracts, but with the nuances, the impact and the magnitude of the nuances in these agreements, we're looking at millions and tens of millions of dollars one way or the other. Some of these contracts involving Fortune 100 companies. So that's one area, where I particularly excelled. It's not something you would find CPAs doing. So what I realized is that I want to move away from that specific role where you're just doing those spreadsheets or completing those forms and go to a place where I can bring, my full skill set to bear. It began with financial, a range of financial advisory and consulting to high net worth individuals. And it spanned the gamut from tax-related, investment-related, a range of things, investment due diligence. And through that process, I realized that people get financial advice consistently that is not catered to them, that is not in their best interests. Financial advice almost always comes with bias. Whoever's delivering the advice nearly always, or I can probably comfortably say always, has something to sell, and they're not providing all the information. And they're not providing transparency. They're not presenting the drawbacks, complexities. That's one observation that I had. And then in particular in the traditional financial advisory space, where you have, a lot of insurance salespeople that are peddling different strategies, but don't really have, the background to do the due diligence or to do the best thing for their clients. So based on that, I felt a real drive to create a business that gives people total control of their money, but retains a tax sheltered status of their funds. And that has become today a prime focus of ReSure Financial. So while I'm still involved in tax advisory for high net worth individuals and a range of other consulting services, a key focus has been setting up IRAs and 401ks that put investors at the center and sideline the traditional financial advisors.
Okay, perfect. Because that's really where my thought process was going with what you're saying is, can you give some examples of what really would differentiate what you're doing compared to, someone at Merrill Lynch or, a traditional financial advisor? Because I think especially since we connected through commercial real estate, a lot of people in our industry have, in a sense, given up on Wall Street. And I always think Wall Street when I think of your traditional financial advisors. So what makes you, again, different based on what I just said from the traditional?
Yeah, so we are. It's not even in any way a comparison, but it's good to take a couple of steps back and try to provide the full context. So in a nutshell, the service that we provide is not asset-based. We don't provide investments. We're not in that business of trying to make money on your money. We provide a compliance service that enables you to direct your money tax-sheltered into any asset that you choose. And the context for this is that one of the great tax benefits and areas of tax law that financial advisors and salespeople tend to exploit are those areas that relate to IRAs, 401ks, QRPs, and other qualified retirement plans. They kind of use that as a way to funnel money to their investment platform or the mutual funds that they sell and grow their AUM, their assets under management. So what they're in the business of is really making money on your money. And they realize that if they can tell people you've got to have an IRA, you've got to have a 401k, and then once the money is locked up there, give you the impression that you cannot touch it for investments that you want, but are forced to invest it in the products that they provide, that would just be a great way for them to grow their assets under management, collect their AUM fees, collect their commissions, their 12B1 fees, their kickbacks, and all the range of fees that they get. However, that's not, Merrill Lynch did not create IRAs or 401ks. Congress did. And Congress did not create these products with the intention of trying to keep people from investing in what they would choose for themselves. So that's something that's become, it's like a pervasive misconception that does not have to be that way. So I'm not in any way opposed to stocks or mutual funds, but I am opposed to people being misled. And I am an ardent advocate of people being given the freedom to make their own informed choices, to give people the right to financial self-determination, not to take their money, lock it up, and throw away the keys and tell them to come back in a couple of decades.
Yeah, I think that goes to that's a great example right there. And I think it's transparent against all aspects of life. A lot of the times we find ourselves in situations where we're really not the one making the choice on whatever it is that we're doing. And that also comes down to awareness, I would say, is the cornerstone of why that's happening. Being able to push out that awareness, that giving that option to make the choice for yourself really is how, in my opinion, life should be. So it's good to see that that's where your head is and your focus is with your business.
Yes, that's exactly it. And I think you're so right about that, that people just requires greater awareness, a little more willingness to perhaps take responsibility for our own choices. I think that responsibility is always there. And if you're ever under the impression that somebody else, that's sitting across the table from you is going to put your interests ahead of their own, while that's sometimes the case, it usually isn't. You are ultimately the one that's responsible. So you should be making the best of choices for yourself. And although I'm not opposed to the stock market, I'm just opposed to the way it's sold. The overwhelming majority of our clients are real estate investors. And it is necessarily that case. There is just that much more opportunity within real estate than there is in the stock market.
I'm curious to get your feedback on this one, mentioning how you do get to work with a lot of high net worth individuals. Sounds like they're diversified with their portfolios, but do have a good focus in real estate. What are some of the common practices or things that you see working with these individuals where you're like, wow, that makes sense why this guy or this woman or this family is so successful with their finances.
That's a great question. And it's hard to provide a single response and kind of distill it, because I do think there are many paths to wealth, and I've observed so many of them. So I don't think it's, there's one path where people are smart, savvy, diligent, work hard, and it takes a decade or two. And then, they've achieved incredible success. They may have a company that they built and then sell that in a huge liquidity event. At the opposite end of the spectrum, got folks that are, taking investors that take chances, calculated chances, investing in startup companies and kind of waiting for those to be acquired. Definitely seen that as well. So that's a riskier game, looking for a quick return. But I'd say, even in that space, where I see that, it's people that have already accumulated a very solid foundation. They've already accumulated what can be viewed as wealth from prior work, prior business. But at that point, they're able to take riskier bets, more calculated bets. So I'm actually not one that's into like get rich quick, because I'd say the majority of the high net worth individuals that I know were not get rich quick. When the success came, it came, and it came fast. May have come overnight, but it was the culmination of years of hard work. It wasn't as if they got a free ride.
Yeah, that's an interesting take, because I've never really heard it said that way, but it does make sense. Maybe somebody's not getting rich quick, but they put the work in, so that way when it's time to catch their break or reach that level of success, it can grow exponentially.
Yeah, it's one of the things that it harkens a bit to what we spoke about earlier: job versus being your own boss or having your own business. Opportunities, there are many opportunities for success. We're not going to make all of them, but you want to put yourself in opportunities' way. And when you're restricting yourself to simply doing what somebody else asks you to do in their business, you're just not in opportunities' way. There's just like no way opportunity can find you. But if you're out there, doing your own thing, then you and opportunity are looking for each other, and you'll eventually meet up.
That is so true. We got to figure out a way to get that one in a quote. I know you and I were joking about quotes there on LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, creating the space, as you mentioned, for opportunity to find you, it's hard, because I know for me, for experiences and examples that I've been through, and I'm sure you can relate, we're always facing that one thing, which is fear. You're a little bit afraid to do something when sometimes that's the thing that you actually have to do.
Yes, that's, what? I think you're only afraid of it when it's a thing that you have to do. When deep down you recognize that it's a necessity and you've got to do it, and you're not doing it purely out of your own volition, you feel forced to face it, and then you kind of want to turn away. I think that's where the fear is. It's, you've always got to overcome that fear. And what you realize after doing it once is, it's really not a big deal.
Exactly. Yep. It's baby steps. And then next thing you know, you're, we'll say psychologically speaking, jumping off 50-foot cliffs all the time like it's no problem.
Yeah, that's so right.
So I got 3 fun questions for you here, Bernard, to close this one out. And then I'll also open up the floor for you to ask me a question, because I know you wanted to ask me at least one. But first, I got to know, what is your favorite thing about Brooklyn? What is your favorite vacation destination? And then who has your favorite client at ReSure been?
Okay. First 2 questions, I think, kind of fit in one category. The last one, I'd see is like a completely different kind of category. What's great about Brooklyn is the diversity. There is just and diversity, not just in, ethnically and racially, just in personalities. Just a hub of people. You're just pebbles, stone's throw away from New York City. Mm-hmm. There's incredible diversity, array of people, an array of professions, and I think that's really unmatched. New York City and its boroughs have something, in that vein that you're not going to find anywhere else.
All right.
Favorite vacation destination? Definitely Miami Beach, Florida. And
right.
I don't know, I can't even pinpoint it, but there's something that I find in the air there. Something. You land and something feels different.
It's a beautiful place. I can agree with that.
And favorite client? I'm glad I got to stay on guard here, and I can't actually provide a name, but I can say what characteristics favorite client has, and it's kind of the characteristics of, best client profile. It's the kind
Okay.
of person that is looking to understand and be educated and informed about their financial future and the financial strategy and tax strategy and steps that they take. Because when you deal with things that are abstract, the world of investing, certainly the world of taxation, it's just not something that most people are able to connect with. It's a pure abstraction. And there's a world of unknown unknowns. And if you really want to ensure that you're structured optimally, you have to always be questioning and recognizing that if you make assumptions, you're certainly overlooking things. Those are the kind of people that I personally connect with best. I work that way, and I recognize that, hey, there's no one size fits all in the financial world or tax world. Every question is unique. When it comes to regulations and compliance and strategy, you've really got to have all your bases covered and take an integrated and multidimensional approach. So my favorite client is the client that is looking to understand, that recognizes that there's a lot more that meets the eye, and then we're able to really connect. So my favorite client, I think I'd say, is one that I can really connect with, personal level, and the characteristics that that lead to that are to somebody that looks to be educated, informed, and cognizant about everything that they do.
And questioning everything. I like that a lot. It's a very important thing to do. I can completely agree with you.
You know what? I'll just give you a really simple case without getting into the technical details. I had one client recently. They had a transaction that generated a very, very, very large transaction. There's a certain question of, relating to certain tax liability they may or may not have. There being that there are a couple of different clients involved, a couple of different parties to the transaction. I was the only one that said, let's take a step back and see, and let's consult the law and regulations and see if things are different. Everybody else, ironically, was just comfortable to assume that the liability was there. And I can say, very comfortably that it's not there. Mm-hmm. The impact of questioning and doing the research and finding the answer is just huge. The numbers here were really, really astronomical, and eliminating just a small sliver of the tax liability was worth an incredible amount of money.
Well, thank you. I have to say, thank you for sharing that story. And what is the burning question? Do you have any questions for me before we close this out?
Yes. What is your objective, Adam, for the Dreamchasers podcast? What is the ultimate goal, end game? What motivated you to kick this off? How has it evolved up to this point and going forward? Because you know what? Keeping these podcasts going requires real commitment. I've listened to other episodes. They're really great, informative. I enjoy them. But what's your why?
My why, and I do this, I'll say this because it's going to sound a little bit cliche, but it really is what started it for me. The first episode, if you go back, I think it's really only on YouTube and maybe Facebook, because it was before I was on platforms like Spotify, iTunes, etc. But I had a friend who was a DJ producing electronic music, which happens to be my favorite genre. Mm-hmm. And when I was listening to his first ever public release that he took very seriously, I was like, wow, this is so good. More people need to hear this, because if this guy keeps it up, he is going to be the next, we'll say Tiesto or so a relatable popular DJ name. And so I was like, man, what can I do? I guess I can interview him. If I can interview him and highlight this, I'm sure that'd be great for him and his confidence, and make me feel good because I like the music and I want to help him. So really the core of Dreamchasers came to creating a platform to help others, especially friends and relationships that I've got within my network, even like yourself, but creating this platform to highlight individuals who are on their way to that level of success that we discussed here on the call. So that's what inspired it for me. I really like helping people. I really like coaching. I do like growing my own personal brand. Like, I definitely like getting Adam Carswell out there in front of as many people as possible. But I would be lying if I said that was my only focus. I really do want to create a platform for others to be successful and for others to shine, because then we all shine. So that's my why. That's why I'm going to keep doing it. You're right. It does take a lot of work, takes a lot of commitment, but thankfully with good people in the network like yourself, it makes it a little bit easier for me to push through the days where I don't feel like doing it, which is very, very few, I should say.
Yeah. And Adam, I got to say, Thank you so much for having me. I do appreciate the opportunity to be on Dreamchasers. The kind of interactions that we've had really highlight the points that you're making. Connecting people, sharing information, adding value, leads to success for yourself, for myself and everybody that we pull into this. That's certainly been, I think, our mutual experience.
Absolutely. Bernard, what's the best way anyone listening can follow up with you, by the way?
Best way to follow up with me? Well, they can visit our website at 401kcheckbook.com. That's 401kcheckbook.com. I welcome a personal email from anybody in the audience. And they can find me at Bernard at ReSureFinancial.com.
Perfect. That'll go in the show notes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you once again for coming on Dreamchasers. This has been a lot of fun. Any closing remarks?
Just keep it up, Adam. This is an awesome to be interviewed by you and get to ask you a question as well. And just keep doing the great work.
All right. Guys, thank you for tuning in to Dreamchasers, Interviews with the Future. We will catch you in the next episode. And remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.